Every time you do that, it looks like a horror movie right before somebody gets killed.
Oh, when the screen turns completely like blue?
Yeah, in this case, obviously early on in the movie.
Right? Is that a thing still? Like, are black people making it further in movies?
You know what? I think
horror films?
I think that it's a good sign that they are. There's actually a movie coming out that's a horror movie, kind of horror comedy. I can't remember what it's called, but it's I saw the trailer for it. It's all about the cast is entirely black.
Okay, so they all die in the first couple of minutes. Like, what is it? Like the monster
it's a short subject.
Yeah, it's like the monster and then like the investigation. Like,
it makes
they all died in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, it makes the thriller video look like Citizen Kane.
What's even better about that would be like if I did a spoof on horror films. Like as soon as the opening credits rolled, I'd kill like the black dude. You know what I mean? I'd be like, oh, Trek's horror film, and then
oh man,
he'd be like, "Hey guys," you know,
man,
and then just kill him off.
The last one I watched was Kid Cudi was in it, and he made it pretty far, man.
Really?
I think, yeah.
Is that like Scream or something?
No, it was.
I'm just thinking Kid Cudi in a movie.
God, what was it called? X.
And
then Pearl came out after that. Which is, those are two dope ones.
So I was telling you that I was playing Battlefront 2 and lost track of time. Because I just finished playing Jedi Survivor.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, I want to go back and see what Battlefront was about. Because I don't know. When I initially tried to play it, I got super dizzy. So since I didn't have an issue with Jedi Survivor, I was like, let me go back and see if when I play it on my big screen on my television, it doesn't happen. And so far, so good. So there you go, man.
That's good, man. I mean, if you're looking at something and it makes you dizzy, 9 doctors out of 10 would tell you to look at something else.
Well, hey, listen. No one that goes fishing in the ocean.
Oh, yeah, well.
You know, you just got to learn to live with it sometimes.
I mean, I'm not an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, but, I mean, come on. I am Asian. So.
That is very important.
Yeah,
that is important in Florida, too, man.
Oh.
Is it like one step up, man? Come on.
We're staying out. NAACP has spoken.
I have like an serious refusal to follow that story.
Oh, yeah, well, whatever. There are 2 cities that I really, really enjoyed at the right age. Those were not even all of Miami, South Beach and Vegas. And I have no desire to go back there to either one of those places now. As discussed previously on Rap Sucks Radio.
Oh my God, yeah, Vegas, dude! It's worth repeating this. That like film that's over the whole city and the people. It's like
film.
Vegas is cool.
Just a general atmosphere of malaise.
Yeah. Like I said, it just needs a whole city worth of Clorox wipes. Just wipe the whole city down, yo.
That microphone is going to file a lawsuit against you, man.
It is, man. I've beat this microphone. I've dropped this microphone. It's pretty rough.
Hang tough, bro.
All right, man. Opening question.
All right.
Have you ever been to Ojai, California before?
I don't think so. Wanted to go.
You don't think so?
Yeah, I don't think I have.
Okay. What would you imagine a wedding from a couple in Ojai, California would look like? A couple from Ojai, California. What would you imagine that wedding would be like? Like if you had a guess. Would it be like Amish? Would it be like, what is your view of Ojai, California?
I wouldn't assume Amish would be pretty far down on the list. It would be on the list, but it would be pretty far down on the list. Amish wedding. I don't even know what an Amish wedding looks like, other than maybe a wedding featuring Amish people. But I would not put that. Well, if I was putting a sort of game plan together, a pre-wedding game plan, I would definitely. The first thing I would find is wherever the open bars were, and find the one with the shortest line, because there's going to be more than one open bar. And,
okay.
And one of them is going to be the preferable one for me, not the one where people are trying to get fancy stuff. The one where, the guys who don't play Star Wars video games are going to be going to just get some whiskey neat, just keep it moving. You know what I mean?
And it's true. I would be in the other line with the whiskey. Fair enough. So you're oddly enough, you're right. There were two open bars, a rooftop and the one near the dining area. So very good call on a wedding from a couple from Ojai, California. I did MC the wedding. Mm-hmm. The couple was from Ojai. I was booked to MC for a DJ for a wedding. And I should preface this because it might sound negative what I'm going to say. The wedding the people were really nice. Everyone was cool. Chill wedding. People kind of I think they're in their mid-30s, the couple. Everyone was super chill. So when I say this next thing, I mean no disrespect at all to anyone. I really do. I do not. And I want to be very clear that this is literally just a description of the event. It's not oh my God, this is horrible. 150 guests.
That's a lot.
It's fair amount of people. It looked small, but it was beautifully decorated. Mm-hmm. Very, very, very non-traditional. Super nice wedding. Like the dog was part of the ceremony.
Tight.
Right? Mm-hmm. I've never seen any group of people, black, white, Mexican, Asian, or otherwise, where 150, or let's say 148 of their closest friends are in the same area, and there is not one person of another race. That's the first time I've ever seen that I was like, so y'all don't have no?
Is that a function of Ojai? Being fairly
well, that's what I'm curious. That's what I've been to Ojai for work, but I've never. And Ojai is beautiful in and of itself. But that's just Ojai wasn't where the wedding was. It was in Newhall. Oh. But yeah, I've never seen that before. There's always like one other person.
You know what my next question is?
What's that?
Was it all Mexican folks?
Nope.
Was it all black folks?
Nope.
Okay. Was it all white folks?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I think I've probably been to a couple weddings or DJ'd a couple weddings that were. But it was in New York. There's never all white folks.
It's never. It was so unusual. Mm-hmm. Again, if you're listening to this episode and you're like, Treg, I'm not saying anything bad. I just have never seen that before. Mm. Usually there's always like one, or somebody's like dating somebody from another race or whatever, or they got a good, really close friend. So it might be like of 148 guests, like two will be like,
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
My wedding was all white folks. So
I was.
Oh, right.
And being that your wife is not. Oh my God. It was cool. Last thing about this. DJing. No, the wedding was dope.
It was great. Good. Ojai strikes me as a sort of affluent place. Not that you can't have, a little bit of melanin in the social circle,
Sure.
But
sure.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, I was like, that was the most peculiar thing of the night. The other thing is that you realize, like, I don't know. Like it's got to be difficult to. My suggestion for anyone who's getting married or whatever, if you're planning your wedding, you invite a DJ, right? And again, no diss. This is not a diss. This is actually just kind of a suggestion that I give to any couple. I've emceed multiple weddings before. This is my suggestion. Tell the DJ exactly what to play. I know that it might feel uncomfortable for a DJ to feel like a jukebox or whatever, but if you give some variance,
I disagree.
A DJ's going to try to. Okay, go ahead.
If you're the DJ, and I know that whoever DJ, I was going to ask you who DJ'd. Who was it?
Eveready.
Eveready's DJ'd millions of weddings, right?
He has.
But you have to force them to tell you, because otherwise it ends up being a much more painstaking for everybody involved than it has.
Well, and that's the thing. It wasn't particularly painstaking. It was cool. He played basically. They did the right thing in a sense by sending a playlist of music.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Well,
but the playlist had a lot of variance. So what most DJs are going to do is they're going to play within their comfort zone of what they know, right? So if you put a lot of 90s hip hop on one, or maybe some old school funk, whatever. But they wanted to listen to, and I've never heard of this group, but like LCD Sound System, and there's another group called Polo and Pan. They wanted to listen to that, and that was their jam. Like that was it. They loved that music, and it was like I would have told the DJ, I would have said, "Yo, red circle around this."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
All this other stuff is cool. You can open the dance floor with it first 15, 20 minutes, but if we got 2 hours of dancing, we want to dance to this for like an hour and 50 of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's just, and I was lucky because I had a whole sort of team of people that were going through and saying, I need your must plays, I need your maybe plays, I need you to go ask your uncles and aunties that are a little older who are their favorite bands from the 1960s or whatever, just so we have some, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff. But I didn't have to like go through all that by myself, so it made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this. Did you and Eveready have to really do some soul searching, look into your hearts when someone asked you to play Biggie Juicy and decide which version you were going to play? Because in a room of that composition, it's just too tempting. It's just too tempting right before the hook. Just to, if you don't know, man. Room, if your numbers are that strong in the room and it's your party, if you the DJ are gonna play Juicy, I can't be mad. Come on.
I wouldn't do it. He played Hypnotize, and that went over pretty well. It's weird. Off of the subject, I mean, on the subject of the wedding, it's like anything else, man. Like there's a percentage of people that are, because all the music being played is good in a sense, right?
Sure.
So there's a percentage of people that are just dancing. Like they're dancing no matter what you play, no matter what. So you basically have a dance floor, especially at a wedding, where people sort of kind of go on and off. It's not like really a club in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And then there are just people who are like, I want to hear very specifically what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Really no different than a club. So it's always an interesting situation, working weddings, because, you don't want to miss like what they want to hear, what the couple wants to hear. But there have been quite a few times where the couple wants to hear something that none of their friends would ever listen to. Like
tough luck.
Right. But it's still like, you're trying to get people to dance, and the couple's like,
right.
We want to hear all Village People all night. It's like,
man, I had so many weird experiences with that. But you know what I can say, for as many weddings as I DJ'd, and there were quite a few, the DJ that we had, DJ Center at our wedding.
Oh yeah,
he's one of the greatest. And an incredibly generous dude, sweet dude, nice guy, and a great DJ with a very wide ranging selection of music that he could play from, no matter what you want. I don't remember a damn thing he played. I know there was some Stevie, and I know that I got yelled at because we threw on the D'Angelo record for the first dance, and I did not practice a dance with my wife, who was a professional dancer, and I will never hear the end of that. Now, let me ask you this. I've never asked you this.
Mm-hmm.
Did I make a fool of myself during the first dance?
No.
Thank you.
I don't remember it. No.
No.
I don't know.
I think what you meant to say was, no, I remember every second of it, and no, you looked like you were holding your own. With the
No, what I'm trying to tell you. No, I don't mean that. What I'm trying to say, and I need to directly refute that for everyone to hear. That's not exactly what I meant at all. What I meant was you didn't do anything memorable, like foolish, because I would have been like, yeah, Kev, no, you tripped on the dance floor 4 times. Like, I would have remembered it.
Yeah, tripping would have even been okay. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the only reason she should feel justified in having a beef is if I took my shirt off or something like that. Waved it around. Which it's my party. I'm well within my rights to do that. As long as the pants stay on, everything else is fair game. Am I wrong?
I would agree with that. With as much as they cost, yeah, you should be able to take your shirt off if you want to.
I think our friends in Philly know the rules.
Do they know the rules to anything? Are there any rules, Philly? Yeah, there's a lot to discuss. Probably more. I mean, I want to keep reiterating that I'm not being like that. It was actually a really nice wedding and the people were really nice. Because sometimes when you say stuff like that, it just sounds like, oh my God, it's the worst. None of it was bad. Everybody was chill. Fathers, especially fathers of the bride at weddings, are the biggest hams.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10.
You keep the couple on your side, but really, in a male-female relationship, really any relationship, there's somebody who's more interested in the music, right? One half of the couple is infinitely more interested in the music. Keep that person happy.
Usually it's the wife.
Well, yeah, right.
Usually it's the bride.
And keep the parents as happy as you can. Show them, throw them a bone. If you do that, you're good. I had one.
You're good as gold.
Because I had to do both jobs. I didn't have a Trek life. So I had to do some of the announcements and stuff.
Everybody needs one.
It was a Greek couple that I think were probably maybe second, third generation at the most. So a largely Greek crowd and group of guests. And I pronounced everybody's names. I practiced those names so hard. And I'm sure everybody thinks other cultures' names are difficult to pronounce. I'm sure people think that Japanese names are difficult to pronounce or Asian language names are difficult to pronounce. Greek names are very long. And I don't think they're mystical, but they're you got to practice, right? And I crushed it so hard that I could have played whatever I wanted for the rest of the night. They didn't care. They were just happy that I didn't screw up anybody's name, which is fair.
Worst nightmare of any MC is messing up someone's name.
It's terrible
at a wedding.
At a wedding, you can't do it.
What happened to Trek this past Saturday as the MC at a wedding? So the wedding coordinator wrote down the father of the groom's name as Rob.
Okay.
The man's name was Roger. I'm calling him up for his speech. I said Rob like 700 times. He was coming up. When he finally got up there, he said, "It's Roger, by the way." And I'm like,
did you throw it under the bus?
So I corrected it. I apologized to him. I said, "Yeah, this is MC's worst nightmare. I'm so sorry. That's how it was written down." He said, No, it happens." I'm like, "No, man. That is mortifying." By the way, it's like 150 people and everybody's like, "Who is Rob?" You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, anyway, so worst fear confirmed. Yeah.
So that's terrible.
It is terrible.
Oh,
it is
man.
terrible.
This has been this week's episode of Wedding Talk with Trek and Ken.
Yeah. Really it's gig talk, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gig talk, doing it, getting your money, bro. We finna get to the other side. Kev, you ready?
I think I am. I do.
All right. Let's go.
Rap Sucks Radio. Blah, 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 blah.
What up, y'all? You alive on Rap Sucks Radio with your homeboy Trek Life and your fam, Kev Sakota.
Yo, Rob. Get up here, Rob. Don't be shy.
Oh, man.
Come on, Rob.
So proud. I so proudly said it, too. It's so bad. Thank y'all for tuning in, man. We appreciate each and every one of y'all. If you would like to catch past episodes of Rap Sucks Radio, you can go to rapsucksradio.com or any of your favorite podcasting platforms. And if you'd like to catch us on your television or on your computer screen, you can go to BTSN. .pass or BTSN Pass, or it's like a gang of them, BTSN.tv, or you can just download the app or channel on your Roku or any of your Amazon Fire devices. That will be BTSN. Download that app or channel. Click on it. We are right there with plenty of other dope content. BTSN Behind the Scenes Network. We want in.
That's right.
And lastly, check us out on Instagram, Rap Sucks Radio, or on Facebook, RSR Podcast. All right. Can't believe I messed that man's name up. All right. This episode title is brilliantly accurate for my life as is right now. Title of this episode, y'all, is Work Sucks Radio. Hopefully you're listening to us to pass the time at work, because I know that you need an hour where you just kind of doing stuff without thinking about it. Yeah. And we're great for mindless entertainment.
Yeah, like, let me check this out. Oh, thank God. They've spent 20 minutes talking about weddings. That's fantastic.
Hey, if you're planning a wedding.
Really looking up.
Yeah, well, it was funny, right? Topic number 1 is titled, The Karen Meeting Got Karened.
Yep. Karen Inception.
Yep. Karen Inception that'd have been a better topic title, actually. Reason why is Uber puts diversity head on leave after a worker backlash over the, quote, "Don't Call Me Karen" events. All right. Sources for this are Gizmodo and New York Times. The players involved are Uber, Bo Young Lee, who is the diversity head, and Karen, who is also the diversity head. Anyway, Uber has put Bo Young Lee, its head of diversity, equity, and inclusion, on leave after employees expressed outrage over a series of events she moderated titled "Don't Call Me Karen." Employees expressed outrage over the events described as conversations diving into the spectrum of the American white woman's experience. The events focused on women deemed, quote unquote, Karens, or white women who call the police on black people. Although the talks, part of the company's Moving Forward series, were reportedly aimed at being an open and honest conversation about race, Uber employees said they felt they were being lectured about why the term Karen was derogatory in the struggles of white women. When they raised their concerns to Lee, who has been Uber's head of diversity since 2018, she reportedly dismissed them, Kev. Lee moderated 2 Don't Call Me Karen events at Uber in April and May. After the first event, a black woman employee at Uber asked how the company would prevent, quote unquote, tone-deaf, offensive, and triggering conversations from being part of its diversity efforts, the Time found. Lee said to have responded that the Moving Forward series meant to promote tough conversations and was not meant to be comfortable. Take it away, Kev.
This is a very weird story.
It is.
Because it took me a couple reads of this article to realize that the objections... First of all, it took me a little while to figure out what these events were about specifically.
Okay.
Because we the story defines Karens as white women who call the police on black people. But I think Karens are a many splendored thing. I think there's a wide spectrum of Karens. If anyone from the woman in Central Park who could have gotten this bird watcher killed by NYPD, all the way over to a white man in Florida who just got Amanda Gorman's book banned from elementary schools,
Sure.
So there's quite a wide range. But what I think this was the seminar was trying to get at why it's not fair to call people Karen.
Okay.
And so I think the complaints were coming from the people of color. I think they specifically said there was a black woman who raised questions. So I just didn't understand any of it. The woman who was running the thing is an Asian lady, for whatever that's worth. But,
yeah, I was gonna ask, either Asian or mixed, right? I don't know. She might maybe like she was Hapa. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Half Karen.
Half Karen. I'm not sure how this one works for me. All right, so let me kind of piece this together as I read it, right? Because it was behind a paywall initially. I was like, wait, what are we doing?
Hey man,
you gotta let me know which.
Man. You gotta pay the cost.
You're gonna pay $1 to read that story? No, thank you. So I understand. First, I'm starting broad first. I understand the ideology behind a company having these like diversity trainings and discussions. I totally get it. I don't know about any other person of color or black person or whatever in particular or whatever. I loathe these things. I cannot stand these. Like whenever I see one on my calendar, I'm like, come on, man. I don't want to notice about my coworkers. That's the thing. Like look, this is what I've done, and I'm going to get to the Karen thing and why I could give Miss Lee or Miss or Mrs. Lee there was a better way she could have gone about it. But check it out. I have done a pretty good job of no longer ever typecasting people. Like, I just be like, you're going to tell me who you are. I'm not going to guess. I'm not going to assume, for better or for worse. You know what I'm saying? I've even been, I remember we were at what's the name of the beach? Zuma? It's not Zuma. Whatever. Out past your way. Mm-hmm. And this dude had a white power tattoo on his stomach. You know what I'm saying? And I guess it must have been from a past because he apologized to me. I was sitting next to him. He honestly, giant dude too. He's like, man, my bad. This is from a time of bad decisions. I was like, it was white pride. It wasn't white power. Mm. I was like, there's nothing wrong with being proud of your ancestry too, man. It's just that was hijacked in a derogatory form. You can be proud of who you are. You know what I'm saying? And dude kind of side looked at me like, wait, what? For real? Like, I'm not offended by anything until you show me what it means. You see what I'm saying? So the fact that he was apologetic and all of that just says, look, if you have an ancestry that you're proud of and it goes deep into certain roots and what have you, I totally get it. I totally get your country singing, proud to be an American people. Like, I get it. I'm not one of them per se, but I totally get it. And I totally think that they should have the space to be that way. Right? But this is where my advice to Bo Young Lee comes in. Mm-hmm. It's still not the primary issue. You see what I'm saying? It's baked into an overall issue, but her problem was being called a Karen and the plight of the white American woman the primary issue. Well, that's where we have a problem. You see what I'm saying? Like, and I've had these conversations before where, and it's usually not a white person that does this, by the way. It's totally always somebody different, non-black, but just, non-white as well. And they'll always be like, well, what would happen if white people say they have white pride? And I'm always like, well, yeah, what would happen? What do you think we would do? You think black people would like start aggressively breakdancing? Like, we would be like, yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Were you trying to like get a rise out of it? Like, what part of the show was this? But if if that ability or inability to express pride in themselves is seen as the primary problem with race in America, then it's like, dude, you're stupid. That's not the primary issue. Also, can I note something, Kev? I don't go on Twitter as much anymore. White men say Karen way more than anybody else I've ever seen. Like, at least in my experience, I don't have like homeboys that describe women as specifically white women as Karen. It's like a joke in my house. Like if I'm like, yo, how come nobody did the dishes? If I say that, they be like, dang, dishes Karen. That's how they talk. That's how we talk to each other in my house. It's like not super specific to white people. Again, I get it. I understand that it's derogatory towards white women, and I'm rambling on and on about this. But my point is, it is not the primary issue. Had she baked that into all of the more important, or actually more negatively impactful issues that happen to women overall, including white women, right? Even in that conversation, like Karen falls so far down the list of like women's rights issues. Like it's just not one of, like, it's like you just decided you was going to swing wildly because somebody, defending a friend of yours. And I have more thoughts on this, but I'll pass it back to you because I've been talking too much. But that's my thing.
No, I think, I definitely don't think it would have ever necessitated in a company of any size or structure a two-part event series. If anything, perhaps it could be, why subtle racism can gradually erode a workplace culture, right? Focused on people of color, definitely women of all genres, gay folks, anybody who's not a straight white male, the traditional majority, which I don't even know what Uber's constituency is or whatever, and they've had some issues in the past just with general nonsense behavior with the old CEO, right? But I can see it being used as a device to say, because actually, we have to point out, I don't think there were any white women quoted in this article complaining about the event series either, right? Or saying like whatever, it wasn't enough or this, that, or the other, right? And so I can see it being used as, hey, when you cross the street because you see this guy coming down, the other direction, and just because he's a black guy, that should tell you something about how you view the world. It doesn't mean you're an evil, hateful person necessarily, but take some time to figure out what that's about, right? And or whatever else, sitting down at a lunch table in the cafeteria, whatever. And if the folks who you're telling this to say, I don't get it, then maybe at that point you could use that brief moment to say, hey, how do you feel when someone calls you a Karen? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, cut it out. Don't do it.
Settle down.
Yeah.
You're making it weird out there. Listen. You kind of brought up a good point, and I'll kind of compound on this a little bit. Crossing the street when you see a black male.
Yeah, that's almost a stereotype situation in itself, but whatever.
Right, automatically. But there's always like an inverse to these things that I experience, and that is like making experiences with other people like an event, right? Like, oh, I talk to my Asian friends about, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, it's not an event, man. You're just talking to a person. Like, I sat next to my black coworker today and didn't feel any discomfort. It's like, well, I mean, stop making these things events. You know what I'm saying? Just deal with people on the level they deal with you on, because the argument, of course, has become equality, equity over equality, right? Like, fine, you ain't got to like nobody. Just get out of my way when it's time for me to make moves successfully based on what I've earned or whatever, right? I would argue that the two go hand in hand, but I ain't trying to have that argument no more because people will be yelling at me about it. And I'm like, you don't stop the actual bias, then how do you get into the position?
That's the thing. That's the thing. So, you have to have the lack of ego and try to be as unselfish as possible in those situations, which, yes, everybody hates those meetings. But you have to, it's like going to the gym. Very few people love going to the gym. Definitely all of us who need to go to the gym hate going to the gym. But when you decide to do it, you go and you know it's going to be painful, and you go because you know it's good for you. This is kind of good for you. So listen. You don't have to say nothing. Generally, I don't think, right? Try and learn, and also, but mostly with the ego and the selfishness, try to realize that your life, if you're lucky, is going to be 80, 90 years, right? If you're really lucky. You exist in a long history of stuff that you don't even want to talk about.
Right.
None of us really wants to talk about. Some of us wish we didn't have to even know about it, and some of us don't want to know about it because it makes us feel bad about who our presidents were, what they might or might not have done. Who knows, right? But, sorry.
Right. What are you supposed to do about that? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And that history has led us to a place where we can have a conversation. How many times have you gotten in a fight with your significant other and you knew that was not the time to have a adult conversation, but when you finally had that adult conversation, even if it was a couple days later, things are better for the most part, right? If you're not complete psychos, or one of you is not a complete psycho, right? So let's have a conversation. Let's talk trash. Let's I think depending on who you're talking to, you can poke a little fun or whatever. Some people aren't going to like that. You got to figure that out. But listen, the guy who sat next to you at the beach with I don't know what I would have done. I'd have been looking for a sharp object, but or I would have just gotten out of there. But what you said to him, I think, was you in nature, generous, understanding. But clearly he apologized because that's not why he didn't. That's not
why he did it initially, right? Exactly.
Right. So that would have been the only other thing I would have said to him. Look, you're apologizing to me. To me, that means that what you're bad. When you say bad decisions, it's because when you did it, there might have been, it might not just have been about you being proud of yourself. It might be you being proud of being something that you thought was better than something else, right? And if that's the case, you apologize. Hey, you're the one who has to walk around with that thing on you all day long. So, yeah.
Take out I would like to hope that understanding led to the idea that maybe you should look into the depth of your culture, who you are, where your family's from, and realize that everybody has that. You know what I'm saying? Every human being has a trail of family that they can research and learn more about, an actual family history, and do with it what you will. Some people are like, I don't care, I'm here now, doesn't matter to me. And I'm like, okay, shut up. Like, I don't, people tend to care about those things, and that's fine. I'm also, remember, like I said, I don't want to know that about my coworkers. And you say, like you said, it's best to sit and listen or whatever. But see, I'm like, dude, this class ain't for me. This for y'all. I already know all this. Like,
didn't you say before that whenever they have those things, though, they say something and then they like,
yeah,
you.
And I got to be like, it's funny because the last one, real quick, and we can jump to the next subject. The last one was about, like bias. It's a bias and inclusion class. The sister that was teaching it was real cool. She was really good. But it was about like privileges. And can you recognize the privileges you have and the ones you don't, right? And the privileges that were listed were things like 2-parent home, never had to help your parents pay bills, things of that nature, right? And I was like, yeah, it's funny because a lot of times when I walk into a room and I'm having a conversation with different people, they assume that I didn't experience any of these privileges. But I totally grew up like that. You know what I'm saying? Which to me, this is the funny thing because I had to think about this because, of course, I had a coworker. I didn't know the dude that had to be that guy, right? But to me, this should tell you why you should be understanding of how racism and bias can affect a person's life so dramatically. You know what I'm saying? I talked to a lot of my peers in my age group. I made far less types of mistakes or decisions that they made, but my path was always altered by bias or racism, right? My principal at my school was fired 2 years after for racial conduct at the school. Like, this is the same principal that my freshman year in my honors AP class handed everybody a book but me and then said, I don't think you're going to be in this class too much longer anyway. Oof. I mean, it's hard, Kev, because this is another thing. I'll move on after this, I promise, but I've been meaning to say this on this show, and I'm going to probably say it to a lot of people. The other thing is people keep connecting poverty to blackness. And so if they grew up poor and you didn't, what they feel, this happens in hip hop a lot. I had a blacker experience than you. I've heard those words from people that are in it. Mainly, I never have heard that from anybody outside of hip hop. It's always a DJ, MC manager, someone
from a non-black person,
a non-black person. It is rampant in hip hop to believe that poverty and blackness are the connective tissue, and I'm like, no. Stop connecting the two for both people's sake, right? To not undermine your own personal struggle, but also not to undermine like everybody else's experience. Like, oh, dang, yo, we moved out the city. There's no more racism. Nothing has happened. Oh my God. Like, that's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? So these are the types of things that aren't really being taught when you're saying, don't call me Karen for probably 2-hour meetings that nobody wants to be at. You know what I'm saying?
And part of me says that, one, to teach one of these courses, I would hope, but I do believe that you have to have some sort of a background in sociology and have some sort of expertise in these topics. And so that's why it seemed extra weird that someone who was at least partially Asian was kind of like dropping the ball a little bit,
yeah.
But yeah, listen, we all have biases. We all, that's how we function in the world, is to see something and try and identify it and with whatever experience we have, it's, I think one of the first things you can try to realize is that it's one thing to look at a car and try and identify if it's a Charger or a Challenger, right? It's from afar, right? It's another thing to look at a person from afar, from the same distance, and try and tell their whole life story to where it becomes factual in your mind. You still do that, I think, to a certain extent, but you also have to learn, like, one, if I want to know about your family, tell me about your family. Right. If you want. I don't know anything about you. But I like you, how'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up? Whatever,
Yeah.
If you don't mind, right? And we don't do that enough. And I don't know how much of that gets taught in these DEI things. That's part of the difficulty. We want to get right to the root of what is, because they don't have a lot of time. I would assume the company doesn't have a lot of money they want to spend on this kind of stuff. They want to do the bare minimum, so they're going to get right to the root problems, which are the most severe things. which I understand, but it's also not necessarily the thing that's going to get us to the place we need to go. I do think that younger people, and I could be completely wrong, like kids, they've grown up in a place where those stereotypes aren't quite as pronounced in the world that they live in.
Sure.
They watch and all that stuff. So I think it's hopefully going to be better. Just like it was better for us than I'm sure it was for our parents, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're gonna see where it goes. But when it comes to oppressed and marginalized groups, Karens are not going to be making the playoffs for a few seasons. And I hate to be a pundit here, and but I gotta believe that Karens they got a lot of rebuilding to do over the next few seasons, and maybe one day, but I don't think any of the rest of us wants to put in a lot of effort in helping them sort of get their chops up. So
I hope what's good for all people is good for all people experience goodness and peace and safety, etc. But Miss Lee or Mrs. Lee, I'm not certain. Like, you got to be a damn fool to think that that's a primary conversation right now.
2-part event series.
Yeah.
How do you start that with saying, okay, so today in part 1 of the Don't Call Me Karen event series.
And I'm certain that Don't Call Me Karen extended to other derogatory forms. Yes, like I said, it's not primary. Yeah. It ain't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The league is going to cheat to get that one out of the playoffs.
Exactly. And we do our best to research when it comes to sensitive subjects in terms of racial dynamics between groups of Americans or just around the globe. I think Gizmodo is probably the first place we go to, as with most people, right? So that's what we've done here. We've done our best. Maybe Wirecutter will have an article next week or something.
I'm like, yo.
Car and Driver, perhaps.
I'm like, yo, just stop calling people stuff until they do something like for real.
I mean, yeah. Like, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Yeah.
And of course, stay away from the pejoratives, like, racial pejoratives and social pejoratives or whatever. But like something like Karen or whatever, like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't really see, like, I definitely have seen more white men do it than anybody else. And I'm not sure if it's tongue in cheek, but I've definitely on social media, which is not necessarily the qualifier for anything, just my own personal experience.
They're trying to endear themselves to you.
They are.
Like,
come hang out over here.
Yeah, come to
watch the Angels with me.
Oh, God. I tell you what, let's speed through these next two and call it a night here. These next
you want to speed
easy.
through these? We have so much time in the year.
Oh yeah. Well, we don't have to.
I want to do this next one before we bounce. Topic number 2, titled Bueller.
Should we make this a 2-part series? Sorry.
We should, right?
Bueller Sex Radio Part 2.
Don't call me Bueller. Which is interesting because this happened to me, right? Rob. Anyway. Yo, Kev, how? I should show this to my wife, actually. She might get a kick out of this. An IT worker who has been on sick leave for 15 years sued IBM for not raising his $67,000 salary while he was off work. The judge threw out the case. This must not have happened in California.
No, I think it was in Great Britain.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And we're going to call
because California would have been like, no, you need to raise that.
I don't know if they're great. They got to make it great again.
Yahoo.com is the source for this. IBM and Ian Clifford are the players involved. An IT worker who's been on sick leave for 15 years sued IBM for not giving him a pay raise, but an employment judge dismissed the case, saying it did not amount to disability discrimination. Ian Clifford, 50 years old, started sick leave on September 2008 for mental health related reasons and was still off work in 2013, having been diagnosed with stage 4 leukemia when he raised a grievance that said he had not received a salary increase or vacation pay during those 5 years. In April 2013, he reached a compromise agreement with IBM that meant he was put on the company's sickness and accident plan, which entitled him to receive 75% of his salary until he retired or otherwise ceased to be on the plan. Under the plan, he would receive almost $68,000 per year until he turned 65. In February 2022, Clifford took IBM to an employment tribunal with disability discrimination claims similar to those in his 2013 grievance. He said, I'm playing way too much Star Wars, I'm like Grievous. He said he was treated unfavorably because he had no salary increase. Okay. Clifford said it was disability discrimination not to increase the payments while he was off work sick because inflation was causing the value of his income to wither, per the tribunal judge. Clifford was seeking a raise of, Kev, get this, 2.5%. Okay. An employment judge dismissed the case, saying that it's not disability discrimination, that the plan is not even more generous. He added that the payment plan was very substantial and that Clifford had been treated more favorably than those not disabled because he was being paid without having to work. That's not how that's supposed to work. But anyway, Clifford told the Telegraph that he took legal action not because he was quote unquote greedy, but because he wanted to provide financial security for his family and his son who was at university. Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah.
I don't know why I read that whole article, but
first of all, leukemia sucks. So
yes.
Yeah. And I take it that he's not, not going to be around forever. But this guy is a goddamn hero. I mean, come on. To be able to just get up and get to the computer to file your grievance with balls that big. You know what? He's making up for a lot of things that the UK have done wrong through the years, as far as I'm concerned.
This is a reverse Brexit?
Absolutely. I don't know what that means, but yes. The article says he's 50. If that's to mean that he's 50 now, that means he's been in this situation since he was 35. So say he started, on the off chance he started at IBM right out of school, 2021, right? Mm-hmm. He gave that company 15 years and was then making, upwards of 80 grand, I guess, if this is 75% of his pay. Mm-hmm. Asians are very good at math. That you can bank on in your DEF. I love everything about this story. I like the fact that, listen, clearly the guy's, I don't know how difficult his day is in terms of pain and so forth on a daily basis. Clearly he's got to be a little bit bored, right? His kid is off at university, maybe he's an empty nester at 50. I don't know. Anyway, to come up with this, it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
It's pretty fantastic.
Kev, he could have had the child when he was 30 years old.
That's true. So. Or maybe he's saving up for the kid's college. Who knows? But just to come up with this for the outside chance, the chance one that they're going to say kick rocks.
Right.
But you being the optimist he is, look at the upside of like maybe another 12 grand a year.
Hey, I don't even know what to say because, to be fair, the last thing the judge said was actually wrong. Like, no, man, that's how disability works. If you're on disability, you're not selfish or getting kindness from the company. Like, disability is kind of for situations like these. I'm not sure if I've ever heard of 15 years of it, but I know that it's possible. It's absolutely possible.
Yeah. We have people who fought
So,
in
yeah,
wars
he's a hero.
who came back without limbs over here getting significantly poorer treatment than this dude.
Wait, yeah, IBM is like better than the government for sure. Because the government is like, oh man, that's crazy. You went to war, man. You lost both arms.
Yeah.
Here's some drugs. Live on the street.
Here's some drugs, and when you come into the office, just wait in this line for about 2 weeks in the waiting room. Maybe we'll check you out, see how you're doing.
There'll be no preferential treatment whatsoever. I mean, you didn't do anything important to deserve it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Just to
This
have
is
some,
kind of a
just to
no
have
words
some
moment.
some attendant walk out into this crowded waiting room and say, "Rob."
I'm sorry, it's Roger. Oh,
You filled out your form wrong.
my
buddy.
bad. Yeah.
You're gonna have to wait in line.
Not at work, bro. Was he Bueller? Bueller. He was not there.
Oh God. Yes. So he's
we've been at this.
Yeah, you can cut it off. Yeah, our Rap Sucks Radio Hero of the Week, though. We need to officially award to Ian Clifford. I think we have to make it a global award. It's only been, to this point, a sort of Southern California-based award, but we're going to expand it to a global footprint. Hero of the Week.
I think Ian Clifford deserves to be the first international.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to pitch a Rap Sucks Radio idea to you right here before we sign off.
Now, let's go.
Should we just go ahead and bite the bullet and do a Patreon? And within that Patreon, what do you get if you subscribe to it? You would get we would basically set up Rap Sucks Radio t-shirts and exclusive annual or biannual releases of Rap Sucks Radio t-shirts with catchphrases, sort of like old head energy or things of that nature. What do you think about that, Kev?
I think we should. I think we could also just pay each other on one episode. That it might amount to.
That's true. That's true too. We could just
Go sit
Venmo
down,
each other money.
buy each other beers, and look at the guy with the white pride tattoo.
That's true. I am I'm end of June,
let's do
early
it.
July. Actually, I'm going to be home for your birthday this time again.
Oh, I thought you were going to be gone. A funny thing, I might be gone. I'll tell you about that later.
All right. Cool. I'll be home for mine. So there's that. All right. So, yo, this has been Rap Sucks Radio. I'm really thinking about working on this Patreon. We're at 170 episodes. I mean, I'm imagining that by the time we get to 200, we're either going to be like, man, okay, this is enough. Or we need to start taxing y'all for all the great entertainment we gave y'all over the years.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
need
one
my
or the other.
chips with dip.
I don't care if it's all pennies. I need my chips. I will holler at y'all. Kev.
We're going to get a bunch of
Wait.
dimes.
Yeah,
We're going to get
people are gonna be like,
7,500
Patreon.
pounds worth of dimes.
Kev, off the top of your head, best opening line in hip hop, opening rap line in hip hop.
Microphone check 1 2. What is this? The 5-foot assassin with the roughneck business.
Nice.
Or
Mine had
okay, go.
mine
you go.
had to be, huh?
You go first. I was
Well,
going to
you-
do another one.
Oh, I break bread, ribs,
Oh, yeah.
$100 bills.
Yep. You will
All right,
now
go ahead,
consider
one
me the apocalyptic one.
Man, you crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I had 1 for the money, yes sir, 2 for the show. A couple of years ago on Headland and Dandle Low. I thought that was dope too. All right, if you're out there and you made it to the end of the episode, in the chat on Rap Sucks Radio Instagram or RSR Podcast, under this episode, your favorite hip hop line, opening hip hop line of all time. We out, y'all.
Yep.
Peace.
Peace.